Disasters are getting worse, the destruction catastrophic. And yet FEMA, the agency that millions of Americans rely upon for disaster recovery, is facing a financial crisis. Hurricanes Helene and Milton have devastated the Southeast, and while FEMA is supposed to be helping, rumors are spreading like wildfire. Is FEMA running out of money? But here's the real question. If FEMA isn't broke, where's the money? Why are victims still waiting for help from past disasters? In this video, we're going to dive into FEMA's financial situation using their own reports and official statements. Let's dive deep into the truth behind FEMA's financial crisis and uncover what they might not be telling us. Before we dig into FEMA's financial challenges, it's important to understand the critical role FEMA plays in disaster recovery. FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, was created to help Americans before, during, and after major disasters. They provide essential services like coordinating rescue operations, offering financial aid, and helping communities rebuild long after a disaster has struck. But here's something significant. FEMA's mission has evolved. In the past, their mission focused primarily on helping Americans. But in 2021, FEMA actually updated its mission statement to focus on helping people. Do you notice the subtle difference? This shift is part of FEMA's 2022-2026 strategic plan, which emphasizes equity, climate resilience, and readiness, whatever all that means. The language change from Americans to people reflect a more inclusive approach, ensuring that anyone affected by disasters, whether they're U.S. citizens, legal residents, or eligible non-citizens, receives assistance. This broader focus on equity highlights the growing complexity of FEMA's responsibilities. With more diverse populations and more frequent disasters, FEMA's resources are being stretched thinner than ever. The real question is, though, can FEMA manage this broader mission when so many people are in need of help right now? And that's where the challenge lies. Each time a disaster hits, FEMA's resources are tested. With hurricanes and natural disasters becoming more frequent and severe, can FEMA actually manage to help everyone in need? And if so, for how long? 2024 has been one of FEMA's most challenging years. Two recent catastrophic hurricanes, Helene and Milton, have devastated the southeastern United States, leaving entire communities in ruins. Early estimates suggest that Hurricane Helene could result in over $47 billion in damages, while Hurricane Milton's destruction is expected to cost upwards of $1 trillion. These staggering figures are pushing FEMA's resources to the breaking point. President Biden recently wrote a letter to Congress warning about FEMA's financial situation even before Hurricane Milton struck. In his letter, he acknowledged that FEMA's Disaster Relief Fund has enough resources to meet immediate needs right now, but cautioned that a shortfall is expected by the end of the year. The president urged Congress to provide FEMA with additional resources to ensure that communities affected by disasters like Hurricanes Helene and Milton receive the support they need, not only in the immediate aftermath, but throughout the rebuilding process. According to FEMA's own financial reports, the Disaster Relief Fund is projected to face a $4.3 billion shortfall by the end of this year. That's right, FEMA's main fund for disaster relief and recovery could be out of money in just a few short months. Let's break down this projected $4.3 billion shortfall real quick. In simple terms, FEMA is expected to run out of money by the end of the year. This means they don't have enough funds to cover all the disasters that are still unfolding, like Hurricanes Helene and Milton. Imagine running out of money in your bank account halfway through the month, but you still have bills to pay and groceries to buy. That's exactly what's happening with FEMA. Without additional funding from Congress, they might not be able to fully respond to ongoing disasters or future emergencies. With hurricanes, floods, and wildfires becoming more frequent and severe, FEMA's resources are being stretched thin. The cost of responding to disasters like Helene and Milton are pushing FEMA closer to the brink of financial collapse. And with so much money required for immediate response efforts, there's a growing concern that FEMA won't have enough funds. So what does FEMA have to say about the growing rumors that they're running out of money or diverting funds? According to FEMA, some of these claims are simply not true, they say. FEMA addressed several rumors in their official statements. One of the biggest claims was that they don't have enough money for disaster assistance, specifically for Hurricane Helene. FEMA responded by saying, "We have enough money right now for immediate response and recovery needs." But here's the catch. Right now, they say. And keep in mind, this was before the Hurricane Milton disaster. That phrase is key. While FEMA might have the funds to handle the disaster response for Hurricane Helene, it's clear they're worried about what comes next. And who knows if they even have enough funds to cover Hurricane Milton. For me, it's questionable. Their own reports show that the Disaster Relief Fund is on track for a $4.3 billion shortfall by the end of the year. FEMA has warned that unless Congress provides additional funding, they may have to shift focus away from long-term recovery projects to meet immediate life-saving needs. This could lead disaster-ridden communities waiting even longer for the help they desperately need. While FEMA says it has enough funds to meet immediate needs, the future remains uncertain. And that leads to another major point of controversy: claims that FEMA is diverting disaster funds to deal with the ongoing border crisis. What do you think of the rumors and controversies supporting FEMA right now? Let me know in the comments. You know what I always like to say: where there's smoke, there's fire. Let's talk about the controversy surrounding FEMA that claims that funds meant for disaster relief are being diverted to manage the ongoing border crisis. This rumor has sparked frustration, particularly among communities hit hardest by natural disasters who feel they've been left waiting for help. So what's the truth? According to FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security's, these claims are false. Although FEMA is in fact helping with the border crisis, their disaster relief work is funded separately. FEMA clarified in an official statement that no disaster relief funds are being diverted. Their border-related work is funded through a program which is separate called the Shelter and Services Program, SSP, which is fully funded by Congress. FEMA has made it clear that their disaster relief funds are protected and cannot legally be used for non-disaster related efforts. However, the ongoing pressure on FEMA to assist with both crises, the border, and natural disasters has left the agency stretched thin. So even though FEMA's disaster funds haven't been directly diverted, the broader strain on their human resources is clear. The agency is caught between managing immediate disaster relief and supporting border communities, both of which require significant resources. So while it may not be true that FEMA is diverting disaster funds to handle the border crisis, the agency is still facing unprecedented demands. This raises the question: can FEMA juggle these multiple priorities without further financial support from Congress? But here's where things get even more complicated. According to a report from the Office of Inspector General, FEMA has $7 billion tied up in unliquidated funds, money that should have been used for disaster relief, but remains unspent. As of August 2024, for example, the OIG found that FEMA had $9.4 million in unliquidated funds from previous disasters, programs that have expired but were not extended, meaning these programs should be closed out and the money dispersed. The report highlighted significant delays in closing these declarations, leaving vital resources unused for so long. Real quick, let's talk about these unliquidated funds. Basically, this means money that has been set aside for disaster relief but hasn't yet been spent. This delay in spending means communities that need help are left waiting longer than they should. This backlog of unspent funds raises a critical question: why isn't the money being used to help communities recover? And with new disasters piling up, how can FEMA continue to leave such large amounts of money untouched? The longer these funds remain tied up, the harder it becomes for FEMA to provide timely assistance. And with billions in damages from hurricanes Helene and Milton, every dollar counts. According to the OIG, This mismanagement puts additional strain on FEMA's already stretched resources, making it difficult for the agency to meet the demands of future disasters. So why is FEMA not liquidating these disaster funds? I mean, it's a staggering $7 billion just sitting there. Some speculate that the agency is corrupt, mismanaging these resources, or worse, using it as a giant slush fund. I don't know, but what do you think? So what happens next for FEMA? It's clear that the agency is facing an unprecedented financial crisis with $9.4 million in unliquidated funds from recent disasters, a projected $4.3 billion deficit by the end of the year, and new disasters causing billions and maybe even trillions in damages. One would imagine that FEMA is being pushed to its breaking point. FEMA's funding primarily comes from the Disaster Relief Fund, which is allocated through the federal budget by Congress. Each year, Congress sets aside money for FEMA to respond to disasters. But as we've seen, 2024 has been particularly devastating. When FEMA runs out of money, Congress can pass emergency supplementing funding bills, but that process can take time. In fact, FEMA has already requested an additional $12 billion from Congress to replenish the Disaster Relief Fund and continue responding to disasters. But with political tensions high and budgets stretched thin, it's unclear if this money will ever come. And without these funds, FEMA might have to make some tough decisions. FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell has already warned that the agency may be forced to prioritize immediate life-saving operations over long-term recovery efforts. This means communities hit by disasters could be left waiting even longer for help. With natural disasters becoming more frequent and severe and the financial strain increasing, FEMA is in dire need of more support, but the clock is ticking. If Congress doesn't act soon, the agency could find itself unable to meet the needs of the next major disaster. So what does all this mean for the future of disaster relief in America? FEMA's facing more challenges than ever before. With a financial crisis looming, unliquidated funds just sitting there unused, and new disasters piling up, the agency is at a crossroads. Without immediate action from Congress, the future of disaster recovery could be in trouble. Now, it's up to Congress to decide whether FEMA gets the support it needs to continue helping people recover from disasters, but time is running out. What do you think? Should FEMA's mission continue, or do they need to be shut down and investigated? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. If you found the video informative, I'd really appreciate it if you could like, comment, and consider subscribing to stay connected. By the way, this topic was inspired by some of the discussions over on their channel, Real Estate Mindset. They've been diving deep into some really interesting financial topics, including FEMA's current situation and the challenges it faces. So thank you to them, and be sure to check out their channel. And before you go, if you've enjoyed this content and want to support the channel, consider checking out my Patreon. It's a great way to help me keep making videos like this one, and you'll also get some exclusive perks as well. The link's in the description if you're interested. Thanks so much, and see you in the next video.